We're going to get started with Miss Alison Mello with the International Trade Specialist with the U.S. Commercial Service out of Chicago with the U.S. Department of Commerce. Without further ado, Miss Alison Mello.
Thank you again for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here this morning and see so many familiar faces. I see a lot of clients that we've worked with over the years and a lot of our partners. And without further ado, let me get into this presentation. I want to go over first kind of how we're structured. It can get confusing at times, especially because we're a federal agency, and to see how we work in concert with partners in state and other local agencies. Then I'll get into more of our typical services that we provide, services you may have heard of, different resources, and then how to contact us. So as the U.S. Commercial Service, you might hear Department of Commerce, Commercial Service, even ITA, International Trade Administration. So here's a nice visual for you. I'm a very visual person. So underneath the White House, obviously we have the Department of Commerce, which is an enormous agency. Within that is the International Trade Administration, which also has different subsects. We are the U.S. Commercial Service, so we are the branch of commerce that is dedicated to export promotion. Now, the very quick explanation is our mandate is to grow exports, which creates U.S. jobs here. Then there's the much more technical one that gets into how our goal is to promote economic prosperity. And we do that via a network of offices here in the US, as well as offices internationally at our US consulates and embassies. So here you have a map of our locations around the globe. I believe at this point in time, we may be over 80 offices internationally. And our overseas offices are typically comprised of a handful of US staff, but the majority of the specialists, all of the industry specialists to say, are local staff that have a background in private industry in a specific country. They have years and years of experience. They work in concert with US officials on the ground so that they can provide you the most up-to-date information, market research, and help connect you. Here in the US, we have over 100 domestic offices. So geographically, we work, say the Chicago office, which I am a part of, our range is pretty much a 50-mile radius of Chicago, and those are the companies that we work with. We also have an office in Peoria that covers the southern part of the state. So wherever you are geographically, there is a commercial service office that can assist you. Now, the services we provide are numerous, and in many instances, we serve as kind of a launch pad, so you can come to us with basic questions or inquiries, and we can direct you to the specialists that can help right away. We work with you to ensure that you have a business plan that is ready for export, that you're geared internationally. So we work in concert with the different SBDCs and international trade centers in the back. So we work in concert to make sure that local companies are ready to export. We can do market research with you and help facilitate gaining some intelligence, and I'll get into that a little later. Do the global business matchmaking. Some of our key commercial service products are actual matchmaking services. And then we can also refer you when it comes to export financing and when it comes to money issues. And I have some of my colleagues here today. You'll hear from Dennis later from SBA, and my other colleague in the back, Jan Blaho from the Exim Bank. There he is, Jan. Money questions, speak to these gentlemen. I like to stand back and let the professionals take over at that point. So some of the questions we get, you name it, with recent changes in certificates of origin regulations for Israel, say, people can call us. If we don't have the know-how in-house right off the bat, we find that information for you or direct you to the specialists and the experts that can answer those questions. Now, starting off, some of the market research. One of the key attributes of the way our agency is structured with our overseas offices and our domestic offices is that we can kind of provide these wraparound services. We can do research not only domestically, accessing different databases that have trade figures and export shipment figures from the US, but we can tap into what our overseas colleagues have researched. And perhaps their membership in different industry associations brings them different information. That's all shared amongst our offices that we can then repackage and consolidate and share with you so that your companies get the most up-to-date information. So here's kind of the key part when it comes to market intelligence that the commercial service has and offers to clients. Offers to anyone, really. This is all contained online at export.gov. These are our country commercial guides. So if you've heard anyone refer to the country commercial guides or the CCGs, because we love acronyms, this is what we're referring to. And there's a basic structure that covers the 8 tenets below, the 8 chapters, and it's published on, I believe we have, over 125 different countries we have this information on. And this is really a go-to resource for companies, even students that are just doing general inquiries and research into different regions. As an example, the doing business in, say Serbia, they will have a nice overview of challenges, opportunities, and best practices for market entry. And these are updated every year with our folks overseas, who in turn engage, local country experts and the like. And so that information, we try to keep it as current as possible. And yeah, it's really a tremendous resource, and they're very comprehensive. I know when you try to print one out, it can be a lot, so we like to keep it soft copy and keep them online. Now, when it comes to, aside from the research and the information that we can share with clients, some of the services we provide. People here that know the commercial service have probably heard of the Gold Key service. And that is really the premier service that we offer. And it essentially is just matchmaking meetings. So a US company ready to export, interested in country X, would approach the commercial service. We work with them to ensure they are export ready. We have conference calls with our folks on the ground in that country to make sure that everyone is on the same page when it comes to the US company's objectives, what they're trying to achieve in country. If everyone is on board and there appears to be a market, then we move forward. And our folks overseas tap into their longstanding industry association connections, and they locate potential partners and distributors, vet them, make sure they are legitimate companies, they have a physical presence, and then they would make an agenda, actual meeting agenda, so that you as the US client can fly into the country. You have a set meeting agenda. Oftentimes you will be accompanied by one of our trade specialists based overseas, and you'll have meetings with the decision makers of these optimal contacts for you. And after the service, there's also follow-up service, and our folks overseas really go out of their way to ensure that that's the start of the conversation, but they want to ensure the conversation continues once you're on the plane back home. So that we've experienced lots of success. We have numerous client companies here that are just repeat customers. They come back doing gold keys in different regions of the globe. We're very proud of that topic, that subject. There's also other services that we offer, not as catchy of a name as the Gold Key service, but we have things such as the International Company Profile. And that's essentially a due diligence report. So oftentimes, in my experience, what I've seen, I'll have companies that I've worked with, and they'll say, you know, we've worked with a distributor in Turkey for some years. We feel good about them, but we want this extra steps, this extra reassurance. And so with the international company profile, our folks on the ground ask for financial records. They do searches to see if there's been any legal action against the company. They will physically visit the company, conduct interviews with the executive team to really provide to you, the US company, a better idea of the entire picture and the soundness of this overseas partner. That's an international company profile. We have partner searches, which is, again, essentially matchmaking, finding potential partners, but it doesn't include your physical trip to the country. This gives you the flexibility to review this vetted list of companies and consider if you want to move forward. There's also a single company promotion. If your company is ready to go to a market, make a big marketing splash and hit a very targeted audience, whether it be security professionals in a country or perhaps the medical community. Our folks overseas can craft an event for you that will really target the decision makers and who you want to reach and save you a lot of effort in the meantime. There's also, the options are limitless. We can do customizable services with the end goal that your US company is successful in doing business overseas. And I had no idea the transitions were so jazzy. So you have my contact information here. Another thing I wanted to touch on, since we have our folks from Serbia, Poland, and Bulgaria, the U.S. Commercial Service, we do have offices in those countries, so our folks on the ground work with their counterparts overseas, just like many, many different countries. And you as the U.S. company here, when you have questions or concerns, if you reach out to us or any of our other partners, whether it be the state, OTI, the SBDCs, or any of our different trade agencies like the ITAGC or Metro Chicago, we all kind of work in concert just to complement one another and make sure that all of you local exporters have all the resources at your disposal to really be successful as you take that next jump. That concludes my little presentation.